The personal brands who you binge watch don't just give valuable information. They make every answer create a new question. And they do this using a 5-step framework that I call the binge loop. I've seen top creators use this again and again. And since I started using it, you guys have been bombarding me with comments telling me that you've been binge watching my videos. Just make sure you stay hydrated. Ideally with buckets of coffee. And my clients have been using it to go from stuck under 200 views per video to breaking out into tens of thousands per upload. This is because if you simply deliver point after point, even your best advice can start to sound boring and predictable and viewers click off. But once you use this loop, you can turn even the most boring lessons, as I'll demonstrate, into a powerful chain that your viewers will naturally want to keep following. So the first step of the binge method is what sets everything else up. And if you don't use this, you could be losing half of your viewers as soon as you make the first point. Now, this is exactly what I saw in one of my clients' practice videos. The intro was getting me really excited for the video, which was about business advice. And the first point was this. So what you have to do is create a SWOT analysis. The first thing I thought was, oh, okay, now I have to do something hard, boring, I'd read about in a business book a decade ago and immediately put the book down and didn't finish it. You see, Mike wasn't giving the wrong advice to his audience. He was actually telling them to do the exact thing that they needed to do. The problem was he was just packaging it in a way that felt really dull and like a lot of work. So the first step in the binge framework to avoid this is to build anticipation. And you do this by telling your audience that they don't know something. It's like another mini hook that goes before each point. So check out this anticipation building hook that I wrote that Mike could have used for his SWOT analysis point. There's one obvious reason your business isn't growing faster, but you're probably too close to see it. And what I'm about to show you will totally expose it. You see how that first not only starts to frame the exercise as something important, but also builds massive curiosity as to what the exercise actually will be. Now, step 2 makes your videos infinitely more bingeable by doing the following. You remember in Django Unchained, Leo's character says, "You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention." That's what this next step does. If you imagine that the first step was lighting a fuse that leads to a stick of dynamite somewhere, what we're doing in this next point is revealing just how many sticks of dynamite this fuse is going towards. It's called increasing the stakes. And if you don't do it, it could be the equivalent of lighting a fuse to a little firework that sort of goes pfft. Maybe I should have called this point, avoid the pfft. Converting this into info YouTube terms, you're basically making your curiosity point relevant to your viewer. That means you go from curious to attention. So this is where you really need to understand your viewer and understand what their pains are and what their desires are. And let me read you what I would have put in Mike's point to start to build stakes for why his SWOT analysis is so important before he even starts talking about the SWOT analysis itself. Because if you don't identify that opportunity, you could spend the next 6 months working harder on the wrong strategy, while the easiest route to growth is sitting right in front of you. Here, Mike would be massively increasing the stakes, showing them they could be doing something wrong for 6 months and wasting all that time versus picking the right decision now, which is pretty much the thing that is playing on the forefront of every single business owner's mind. And at this point, Mike's viewers would be frothing at the mouth to know what he is about to show next. But if Mike got this next step wrong, he would still lose all of the viewers at this point in the video. Now, in this next part of the binge loop, I want to introduce 2 different types of news to you. One type of new is, I already knew that. And another type of new is, oh, that's new. Guess which way you want your audience to feel. You see, if Mike just at this point said, and it's a SWOT analysis, it would still have that effect of, oh, okay, God, now I have to do a SWOT analysis. But instead, you need to name it. So when you start picking a name for the mechanism that you want to show to your audience, try picking a name that describes the result that they want. So what we could do here is, instead of calling it a SWOT analysis, we could call it a growth gap audit. This shows the exact result that that mechanism is going to promise. Now, we don't have to pretend that the SWOT analysis is something that it's not, but by giving it a results-based name, it can make the SWOT analysis feel new rather than something that you already knew. Now, this next stage in the binge loop is absolutely crucial, because if you're not doing this, you're basically selling smoke and mirrors, selling an idea without actually delivering value. And what that means is that your viewers might watch this video that you're watching, but afterwards they'll think, well, I didn't actually get any value from that, and so they'll never watch any of your other videos. And so it's super crucial within every single point that you make to really give the value that your viewers came for. And we do that in this section, which is called Ground It. This is where you take your point from abstract to real by giving examples, walking them through a demonstration, and doing your actual teaching to make sure that your viewer walks away properly satisfied. Now, in Mike's video about his SWOT analysis that his viewers are now gagging at the bit for, what he would do is something like this. He would say, for example, maybe one of your biggest strengths is that your clients get incredible results, and one of the opportunities in your market is that people are desperate for more proof before they buy. So the growth gap is obvious. You're sitting on powerful client stories, but you're barely using them in your content or sales process. So the answer might not be to create a new offer, post more often, or redesign your website. It might simply be to turn your existing client results into 5 case study videos. So by giving that example, Mike is showing the benefits of the SWOT analysis in a clear-cut way that makes it all sound very appealing. And at this point, he'd probably go through the SWOT analysis with a screen share or a diagram and actually show him filling it out that could then demonstrate how this client might land on this result. But here's where you have to be extremely careful. You see, after you've made your point and given value, it is the perfect time for your viewers to think, cool, right, I've got my value, I've had enough now, and click off. And so how do we remedy this and make videos that viewers watch the whole thing and multiple videos in a chain? And by the way, if you can get your viewers to watch a chain of your videos on YouTube, it is the most powerful thing that you can do to create an audience of buyers. You see, if people only watch one video, they're probably not going to buy anything from you. But if they watch 5 to 10 of your videos, ideally in pretty quick succession over a couple of days or weeks, then they are red hot viewers and they're very likely to buy the very next thing that you launch. And so this really is the difference between having a channel that doesn't really sell anything and having an audience full of buyers. The best way to avoid viewers clicking off after your point is to stop structuring your video like 5 separate boxes, 5 separate tips, 5 separate hacks, and instead structure it like a chain of information. The answer to your first question should then reveal a new limitation, a deeper implication, or a next necessary step. So you can still close your original loop that you opened in the building anticipation phase, but your conclusion should open the next one. So this is where instead of your viewers exiting, they choose to extend the journey. And the classic example that you should not do is this. Great, so that was tip 1. Let's move on to tip 2. Again, just think about sort of, it's not a good sound. So how would our good friend at this point, Mike, do this to go from SWOT analysis to his next point? We just need to ask ourselves, what is the next logical problem that these business owners would be up against once they had revealed some new opportunities through this SWOT analysis? Well, logically, if I've now discovered, let's say 5 or 10 new opportunities, now I don't know which one to pick. So that's the problem that we're going to set up that the next point is going to solve. So you might say it more or less like this. But finding the opportunity isn't the same as knowing whether you should act on it. A SWOT analysis can easily give you 10 exciting directions and no idea which one deserves your next 6 months. And if you get this next step wrong, you could be following a shiny object syndrome and getting nowhere. So at this point, Mike has basically blocked the exit of his video and given his audience no choice but to extend. And at this point, Mike needs to also be advising his viewers to stay hydrated because this stuff gets nasty. And if you also do this in the end screen of your videos as a call to action to get your viewers to then watch the next video, that's how you get your viewers to binge your channel harder than Netflix. If you'd like to use my free custom GPT that will help you plan out banger points in your videos with this framework pre-baked into it, you can use that absolutely free. It's in the description below. Now, even with this binge loop, you still are at risk of making your audience feel like, I knew this, rather than, wow, this is new. And if you want to guarantee that every single time your information feels new, so that your viewers are not only blown away by your information, but come up with concepts that are so catchy that you can even use them in the packaging of your videos to make them blow up, then watch this video next. It will help you come up with unique mechanisms that pop.